Hello and welcome to Science on the Edge. I'm Dr. Mark Darcy and today I'm going to be talking about AI, artificial intelligence. This will overlap with my discussion on automation, so I will be covering both topics which do relate to quite a large extent. I'll be talking about what AI is, how it will benefit us, and what are its potential drawbacks. So let's begin. Okay, so let's start with a definition of AI. This definition is by B.J. Copeland. Artificial intelligence, AI, is the ability of a digital computer or computer-controlled robot to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings. The term is frequently applied to the project of developing systems endowed with the intellectual processes characteristic of humans, such as the ability to reason, discover meaning, generalize, or learn from past experience. Since the development of the digital computer in the 1940s, it has been demonstrated that computers can be programmed to carry out very complex tasks, as for example discovering proofs for mathematical theorems or playing chess with great proficiency. Still, despite continuing advances in computer processing, speed and memory capacity, there are as yet no programs that can match human flexibility over wider domains or in tasks requiring much everyday knowledge. On the other hand, some programs have attained the performance levels of human experts and professionals in performing certain specific tasks. This is known as narrow AI. So that artificial intelligence in this limited sense is found in applications as diverse as medical diagnosis, computer search engines, and voice or handwriting recognition. So let's now talk about the story so far. I could actually give an entire lecture on the story of the development of AI, but I'm going to kind of cut to the chase. I'll be talking about recent developments. So first of all, I'll talk about Deep Blue. You may have heard of Deep Blue. If not, Deep Blue was a computer that challenged and beat the world chess champion, Garry Kasparov, multiple times. So Deep Blue was a chess-playing computer. It was developed by IBM. It's known for being the first computer chess-playing system to win both a chess game and a chess match against a reigning world champion. So Deep Blue won its first game against Garry Kasparov in 1996. So there was a 6-game match. Kasparov won 3 and drew 2 of the following 5 games, defeating Deep Blue by a score of 4-2. Deep Blue was then upgraded substantially. A lot of work was done on it. It basically learned from its mistakes, let's say, and played Kasparov again in May of 97. Deep Blue then won Game 6, therefore winning the 6-game rematch, 3.5 to 2.5, and becoming the first computer system to defeat a reigning world chess champion in a match under standard chess tournament time controls. So that was a major breakthrough. Until that point, basically the best chess player could always beat the best chess playing computer. Now that will never occur again. The best chess computers will always be better than the best human chess players. And it didn't stop there. Moving on a few years, this is a little bit more recent, we go on to AlphaGo. So AlphaGo was the first computer program to defeat a professional human Go player. Now, Go is a much more complex game than chess. It's very popular in the Far East. It requires strategy, creativity to a much larger degree than does chess. So until AlphaGo came along, a computer had not beaten a professional Go champion. But then AlphaGo came along. It defeated a Go world champion and arguably the best or strongest Go player in history. AlphaGo's first formal match was against the reigning 3-times European champion, Mr. Fan Huai, in October of 2015. Its 5-0 win was the first ever against a Go professional, and the results were published in full technical detail in Nature, in the journal Nature. AlphaGo then went on to compete against Mr. Lee Sedol, who basically had won 18 world titles at Go and was considered to be the best Go player in history. But it was beaten by AlphaGo 4-1 in Seoul. So that was in South Korea in March of 2016. This match was watched by over 200 million people worldwide. And since then, AlphaGo has become the de facto world Go champion. At least it can beat any world champion that we choose to put against it. But it didn't stop there. AlphaGo became so good at playing Go because the programmers had filled its database with all of the different moves that pretty much every Go champion in recorded history had made. All the different strategies, etc., etc. So AlphaGo was prepared with all of that knowledge. But AlphaZero, the next computer to have a go at Go, so to speak, was put together in a different way. Instead of being given a history of Go moves and Go tournaments, instead it was just given the rules of Go. And then it was set against AlphaGo. It was set against it so that it could play against AlphaGo and learn. Obviously, these computers can move very fast, or they can think or process very, very fast. So the two computers managed to play thousands upon thousands of games in a very short period of time. And AlphaZero learned. And very rapidly, and we're talking a very short period of time here, AlphaZero became better than AlphaGo. It could beat AlphaGo 100 games in a row. AlphaZero was a little bit different than AlphaGo. AlphaZero could not only play Go, it could actually play pretty much any game you asked it to play. So, for example, it was given the rules for all of the Atari games that had been produced, and it learned how to play each one of them very rapidly, better than any human. So it was more general than AlphaGo. AlphaGo could play Go. AlphaZero, however, could play whatever you told it to play. Just give it the instructions and it worked it out. That was a major breakthrough. And we went from AlphaGo to AlphaZero in just a year or two. So it shows you how quick we are progressing. Okay, so that's sort of potted history of AI over the last couple of years. But let's move on. So AI, artificial intelligence, what does it do? It processes information on its own without human intervention. Examples, so game playing, this is where most advances have been made in AI. Natural language, which offers the greatest potential rewards by allowing people to interact easily with computers by talking to them. Expert systems, so computer programs that help us make decisions. They may help determine the best type of insurance for particular needs, for example. And robotics, used in assembly plants, such as for cars. And the newest type, called a bot, which is used by search engines. So what are the goals of AI? Well, the goals are pretty much what we tell it its goals are. This is the thing with AI. It doesn't, as of yet, have any kind of emotions, any kind of desires whatsoever. So it's up to us to tell it what it should do. So we program AI with a particular mission, and it tries to achieve that mission. This is where the problems might arise in the future, mainly because AI itself, if given the wrong instructions, could potentially harm humans. And it doesn't need to be deliberate. I'm not just talking about some rogue nation designing an AI system and instructing it to destroy its enemy. The AI may just be instructed to, I don't know, manufacture paper clips. This is an analogy that's often used. So maybe you've got a paperclip optimizer. So an AI that has been instructed to make the paperclip manufacturing factory super efficient. So it will make the most paper clips it can for as cheap a price as possible. Well, if that's the only instruction that it's given and it has a super intelligence, then I suppose the most logical thing for it to do would be to turn the entire planet into a paperclip manufacturing factory. And you can see how that would conflict with humanity's needs and goals. So we really need to make AI safe. The previous analogy might sound a little silly, but there are a lot more likely scenarios which could equally harm humanity without us intending to actually use the AI in an harmful way initially. So we need to make AI safe. The problem is making AI safe is harder than just making AI quickly. There's a lot of profits to be made from AI. You make an artificial intelligence system that can win on the stock market very quickly, then you just want to get that out there immediately so that you can make yourself, your company, your shareholders millions. Thinking about safety is not necessarily a concern. When it comes to safety, you need regulations. Governments and international organizations need to say, no, you have to make sure your AI is safe before you can release it into the world. And we don't have such organizations at the moment. There are no regulations on AI safety right now, and that's dangerous because AI is developing quickly, very, very quickly. So why are we afraid of AI exactly? Well, it's mainly because of change. There's a good quote by Douglas Adams, which I'm about to give, which sort of explains humanity's fear of change quite succinctly. So, Douglas Adams, I've come up with a set of rules that describe our reactions to technologies. 1. Anything that is in the world when you're born is normal and ordinary and is just a natural part of the way the world works. 2. Anything that's invented between when you're 15 and 35 is new and exciting and revolutionary, and you can probably get a career in it. 3. Anything invented after you're 35 is against the natural order of things. Very accurate quotation, I think that is. Basically, the young tend to be fearless. They don't fear technology. They don't fear anything that's around when they're at that young, impressionable age. When we get older, however, we become more afraid of change. So yes, there's an element of that with AI. AI is such a new thing. It's developed so quickly that it's instilled a lot of fear in the population. But the thing is, it might be that that fear is warranted in this case. It's not just fear of the unknown. It's fear of something that could genuinely pose an existential risk to humanity. Okay, so let's try and separate some of the facts from the myths. So first of all, I'd like to just give you a kind of overview. Myth. Superintelligence will be around by 2100. It's inevitable. Well, that's a myth. We just don't know. It may happen in the next couple of decades. Or superintelligence, which, by the way, means an AI that is more intelligent than a human being. It may take centuries to develop. We don't know. I mean, before the atom was split and nuclear power was created as an energy source and as a way to wage war, just shortly before the Manhattan Project came up with the first nuclear weapon, some of the major scientists on this planet were saying that splitting the atom was impossible or was centuries away. So experts don't tend to be so accurate with these predictions. However, AI is developing quite quickly now, and when you survey the leading AI scientists, and this survey has been done, the average number that basically people come up with for a time frame for AI development is by about 2040 or 2050. So by 2040, 2050, it's thought that we're going to have AI around that's more intelligent than us. Now, you might say that seems quite a long way away. Well, it isn't, not really. I mean, think about how long The Simpsons has been running for. The Simpsons has been running since the 80s. So, it's been going for 30 years now. So we're talking about the runtime of The Simpsons and a bit more. That's all it'll take before AI is more advanced than we are. Well, possibly anyway. Okay, so another myth. Only the Luddites worry about AI. The Luddites are people I'm going to talk about shortly. The fact is that lots of top AI researchers are concerned. Some are not concerned. Some think it's just really not going to happen ever. But many of the top AI researchers are concerned. So maybe we should be too. Okay, so another myth is that we should really worry about AI turning evil or becoming conscious. It might become conscious, it might even become evil, but that's not so likely, and it's not such a worry right now because things like good and evil and all that kind of thing, they're sort of human constructs. We have hormones, we have chemicals that make us desire to take actions which might be considered evil. In reality, the real concern with AI is more that it becomes very, very competent, more competent than we are, so better at performing tasks than we are. And if that occurs and its goals don't align with ours, then we could be in danger. Okay, another myth is that robots are the main concern. Most of the movies that discuss AI basically involve killer robots, whether it's Ex Machina or Terminator or Westworld, whatever it is. They involve killer robots. Really, it's not about killer robots as such. It's about intelligence, pure and simple. AI doesn't need to exist in a robotic body. It can exist on the internet. It can exist in the cloud. And it could do a lot of damage from that location. And it'd be very hard to disable it once it's out there. If AI exists in the cloud, on the internet, then you can't just switch that off. Where's the off button for the internet? There isn't one. Okay, another myth. AI can't control humans. Well, it can. It already does in many ways. Social media, Facebook, Twitter, all these things. A lot of the algorithms that determine what you see in your feed are basically controlled by AI systems, and they are manipulating us. There's a lot of evidence that various elections in various countries have been partly controlled by bots and by algorithms, by AI programs that subtly manipulate a person's opinions. So AI is controlling us right now, and it's only going to get better. And when it does get better, it'll be able to control us much more effectively than it does now. That's where we should worry. Okay, another myth, machines can't have goals. Well, of course they can have goals. Heat-seeking missile has goals. It's a machine. Its goal is to basically destroy the thing it's pointing at. So AI can have goals. It doesn't mean it enjoys doing what it's doing. It still can do them, however, and perform harm. So AI is dangerous if it's given the wrong goals. Doesn't necessarily have any malice, but it can still harm us if the wrong goals are programmed into it. Okay, another mythical worry is that superintelligence is just years away, just a few years away. Well, it's at least a few decades away, most people think, but we just can't say that. We can't say for sure because breakthroughs happen all the time. And so what if it's a few decades away? One AI expert said that, as an analogy, basically what would happen if, say, we received a transmission from an alien species. We suddenly received it and it said it was from some other star system light years away, and it said, "We're the aliens. We're coming your way. We will be there in 50 years. Well, I think we'd all panic. I think we would. 50 years would suddenly seem like a very short period of time. So yes, even if AI is 50 years away, 40 years away, 30 years away, we need to start preparing now because we don't necessarily know the impact of the AI when it gets here. Okay, but that's AI generally. Automation is already happening. Narrow AI is already around. Narrow AI is basically AI that can perform a simple task that better than a human. but it's not generalized. It can't perform many other tasks. So a narrow AI could, for example, play chess or Go or drive a car automatically or run a factory. So this sort of AI, this narrow AI, is going to arrive much sooner than the generalized superintelligence that we're worrying about. This narrow AI will affect the job market in just a year or two. It's that soon. Self-driving cars. Think about self-driving cars. Right now in the USA, if you're basically a guy without a college education, so you're an unskilled worker, you're male, the most likely job that you will find yourself into that pays well would be a truck driver. There are lots of truck drivers in the US. There are millions of them. Now, that job's going. That job's going in a couple of years' time. Self-driving cars are already on their way. They're nearly perfected, and pretty soon we'll start seeing them on the streets. And one of the first industries that's going to take them up would be the transport industry. I mean, why would we pay some worker to drive a lorry up and down the country when we could just have the lorry drive itself? So those jobs are gone soon. We've already seen job losses in many factories due to automation as well. A lot of national leaders basically blame the loss of jobs on other markets in other countries. It's a good way to get political points. But really, a lot of these jobs that are going in industry are down to automation and narrow AI, and that's just going to get worse. There's probably not a job out there that a narrow AI could not do as well as a human, from running a factory to driving a car to delivering pizzas to doing our tax returns for us to even running supermarkets. We already have automated checkouts, for example. So AI is going to take all of these low-skill jobs first. Narrow AI will take those jobs, and this will result in mass unemployment. And it's kind of inevitable. We need to start thinking about what we're going to do when these jobs are gone. And that's just narrow AI. When the superintelligence comes along, the generalized AI, the superintelligent AI, in the next few decades, then we have much more of an existential threat. It won't just be the job markets that might be affected. It might be our lives, our very existence. Okay, so why worry about AI generally? Well, most researchers agree that superintelligent AI is unlikely to exhibit human emotions such as love or hate, and there's no real reason to expect AI to become sort of intentionally malevolent. So when considering how AI might become a risk, most experts kind of look at two scenarios. The first scenario is that AI might be programmed to do something devastating. So autonomous weapons, artificial intelligence systems that are programmed to kill. So such as drones, heat-seeking missiles, that kind of thing. In the hands of the wrong person, these weapons could easily result in mass casualties, destruction of cities, even countries. Moreover, an AI arms race could inadvertently lead to an AI war that also results in mass casualties. So to avoid being thwarted by the enemy, these weapons would be designed to be extremely difficult to simply turn off. So humans could plausibly lose control of a situation. This risk is one that's present even with narrower AI, but grows as levels of AI intelligence and autonomy increase. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is that AI is programmed to do something beneficial, such as making paper clips or basically cleaning streets or whatever it is, but it develops a destructive method for achieving its goal. Once you give AI a goal, it will try and achieve that goal. And unless you tell it not to, it will not occur if people get harmed in the process. So this can happen whenever we fail to fully align the AI's goals with ours, which is very difficult to manage. So if you ask an obedient, intelligent car to take you to the airport as fast as possible, it might get you there chased by helicopters and covered in vomit, doing not what you wanted, but literally what you asked it for. That analogy is one provided by Max Tegmark, by the way, someone who's written quite a bit on AI. if a superintelligent system is tasked with an ambitious geoengineering project, it might wreak havoc with our ecosystem as a side effect and view human attempts to stop it as a threat to be met. This is something that we can understand. If something is particularly intelligent, it can harm less intelligent creatures without necessarily caring or meaning to even. If it doesn't have any sort of emotions, then harm can happen inadvertently. For example, if someone wants to build a skyscraper and there happens to be an ant's nest on the site, it's not even considered. No one thinks about the ants. The building is built, the ants die. An AI, if not told specifically to mitigate against harming humanity, may do so thoughtlessly. And that's the real worry. So as these examples illustrate, the concern about advanced AI isn't a malevolence as such, it's more about competence. Superintelligent AI will be extremely good at accomplishing its goals. And if those goals aren't aligned with ours, we have a problem. So we need to kind of consider this when we're designing our AI systems. So how far away is AI? We've sort of said that yes, proper superintelligent AI might be arriving maybe in the 2040s, 2050s, but the narrow AI is here right now, and we're gonna see its impact on real life, on real jobs within the next year or two. So should we continue on the path we're on? Well, does it make sense to even ask that question? You can't stop technological advancement unless we had a thermonuclear war which pushed humanity back down into the dark ages. Then AI will continue to be developed. It's being worked on by so many groups in so many countries throughout the world. It's unstoppable now. It really is. AI is happening. It is developing. It is becoming more competent, and there is nothing we can do to stop it. What we can do is try to ameliorate any negative consequences of it. I mean, the Luddites, for example, back in 1812 were a group of people that tried to stop technology. The new cotton weaving mills had started to spring up all around Britain, for example, and the Luddites up in Scotland tried to destroy those factories because they're worried about the jobs being taken by these machines. They destroyed these factories, but new factories were built because there was money in those factories. There was money from weaving the cotton. So we can try to stop machines, but we won't succeed. We won't succeed. They will just continue to be developed in some corner of the world, and AI will arrive. So let's talk a little bit more about the positives of AI. I've sort of been talking about some of the negatives of AI, job losses, for example, and I'll talk about those a little bit more. But there are positives to AI as well. So, ancient Greece. In ancient Greece, they basically had slaves. The ancient Greeks were a slave-owning population. Most of the people in any given city were slaves. They were owned by the free Greeks. And these slaves performed all of the mundane tasks. Now, AI could be the new slave population. Now, if these robots do not have emotions, if they do not feel pain, then we could have them perform all of our menial tasks so we don't have to. We could basically find ourselves in a position where instead of the majority of the human population toiling in factories or working as cleaners or working as builders, doing all of these tasks which are exhausting and not very life-affirming in many cases, we could have AI doing it for us so we don't have to. Now, that would be great as long as we've got a means of income. So having the AI be our slaves, build our roads, clean our houses, manufacture all of our products, grow our food, if we could have AI doing all of that, then that would be great as long as there is a means of income for the people that are thrown out of those jobs. And that's the key. At the moment, in our capitalist societies, we have to work for money, and the money is what we buy our goods with, our food and all our other products. Now, if there is massive unemployment, which there will be when the AI gets just a little bit better, a little bit more developed, when this mass unemployment comes along, if we don't have a means of still providing money to our populations, then it could result in civil unrest. It could even result in revolution on a much larger scale than occurred with the Luddites. So what to do? Well, I'm going to get to a possible solution, which is known as UBI, Universal Basic Income. But before I get to that, I just want to kind of dig in a little bit deeper into the technology itself, just a little bit. So first of all, I'd like to consider, do people adapt to technology, or does technology adapt to people? Well, you might think that we make our products, we make our technology, and we use it. It's basically adapting to our needs. But it's not quite like that. It's a two-way process. When we manufacture some new piece of technology, before we know it, we become dependent on that technology, at which point our skill sets change. So, for example, go back just a few years before we had GPS, Google Maps, that kind of thing. We basically needed to know how to read maps. We needed a better sense of direction to get anywhere. If you need to go from one side of a country to the other, you needed to drive from one city to another, then you needed to know how to read a map, how to find your way around. We don't need that skill anymore. We've lost that skill in many cases because we have Google Maps. If I want to go somewhere, I just put on Google Maps and it takes me there. It tells me when to turn. It tells me how long the journey is going to take. And I don't really think about where I am or my sense of direction. So my sense of direction has become weaker as a result. That's one example, but technology all around us changes our behavior. Social media changes our behavior. So does using computers, using cars even. Technology changes the way we behave, and AI is doing the same thing. In recent years, through things such as social media, the amount of time the average individual spends on his phone now just scrolling through Twitter or Facebook or just the internet generally is huge. Our behavior has been molded by our technology, and it's going to continue to do so. Okay, so a lot of people question whether technology is going to take away human jobs, and the main reason they say that technology isn't going to replace jobs such as for example, a doctor or a salesman or whatever, is just that humans are better than AI at these things. Well, humans were better at chess and were better at Go, and they're not anymore. Anything a human can do, the right AI, even a narrow AI, can be programmed to do it better. Doctors make mistakes, judges make mistakes, AI makes mistakes. The difference is AI improves, it develops, gets better at everything it does, until eventually the AI makes less mistakes than a human. And when AI does make less mistakes than a human, then it makes sense to replace the human with an AI. For example, hungry parole officers and judges. A number of studies have been conducted that show that depending on the time of day that a parole hearing is held, or a judge needs to make his decision on a trial, a different decision is made. So if the judge or the parole officer is hungry, so it's approaching lunchtime, he's basically hungry, he's going to make more of a negative decision. This has been proven. Then if he's just eaten, it's early afternoon, he's feeling satiated, he's more likely to make a positive decision. So some people go to prison or have their parole refused just because the judge or the parole officer is hungry. These people aren't deliberately making negative decisions. It's just that their emotions are controlling their thought processes subconsciously. Now, these studies have been repeated many times, and it's true, humans are controlled by such small things as hunger, as tiredness. I mean, car crashes, for example. More people died in car crashes because the driver was tired than the driver being drunk. Humans can drive cars very well, but they can also drive them very badly if they are tired or intoxicated or the mind is on something else. Self-driving cars at the moment have crashes, they do. But pretty soon they're going to get so proficient that crashes just don't happen in self-driving cars, because a car controlled by an AI doesn't get hungry. It doesn't get tired. Its mind doesn't wander. So it's just going to get better and better at driving. I mean, I could envisage a time in just a few decades where it might even be illegal to drive a car if you're a human. The cars may have to be controlled by AI because it's considered unsafe for humans to drive cars. Many people die every year in car crashes, many people. And if all the cars were controlled by AI, and the AI had got to the point where it is basically better than humans at driving, then it would make sense to prevent people from driving. We'd save a lot of lives. Perhaps these hungry parole officers and judges should also be replaced by AIs. If you can program the AI with all of the various laws that govern our nations, then it can make these decisions on paroles, on whether a particular trial goes one way or another. It could do that itself, and it wouldn't necessarily be racist or sexist or any of these things. That is, of course, unless it's programmed to be any of those things, which is a whole other debate. So people get tired. Robots, AI does not. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more now about the sorts of jobs which are going to be affected in the next few years by AI. Well, first of all, let's talk about mining. There are many thousands of coal miners, people working in diamond mines, copper mines, etc., etc. There are many thousands of people working in those industries throughout the world. For example, in the US, in mining, there's 456,000 people working in that industry. Well, all those jobs could be replaced by AI, every one of them. Every single one of them could be replaced. Construction. In the US, there's 6.5 million people working in the construction industry. You can imagine AI controlling robotic devices that could do all of the construction. Those 6 million people would then be unemployed. There are millions of people that work in the financial and insurance industries. And at the moment, these people kind of generally think that their skills are so complex and hard to learn that they're safe. But that's not the case either. AI can make financial decisions on stocks and shares at least as well as humans can in many cases, and it's going to get better. And when it is better, then why would you hire stockbrokers when your company could just use AI? Real estate, even scientific and technical jobs are going to rapidly become performed by AI, because AI will learn to do these jobs better as it itself gets better. Remember AlphaGo and AlphaZero. There's going to be an equivalent of those various AI devices for the stock market and for medical diagnosis. I mean, there is an app that I've used on my phone called Ada, and Ada is an AI system. It asks me a bunch of questions about any symptoms I might be suffering from, about my age, my sex, and it gradually builds up a map of my condition and gives me a diagnosis. Now, do I trust its diagnosis more than that of a doctor? Not yet, no. But when I've used Ada, it's been extremely accurate. And the next version of Ada, or the one after that, is going to be better than the typical doctor. It really is. And when it is better than the typical doctor, why would you trust that medical practitioner over the app? Let that sink in. Within the next few years, medical doctors may be unnecessary. Yes, probably need some still just to confirm diagnoses. We'll probably still need surgeons, although surgery probably could be performed by AI eventually too. But in the next few years, I just imagine that even jobs as highly skilled as being a medical doctor may start to be performed by AI. So add all this up together, the effects on mining jobs, the utilities, construction, manufacturing, retail, finance and insurance, medicine, even science. We're talking about mass unemployment being right around the corner in just a few years' time. Just a few years' time. We need to prepare for that, and governments just aren't doing it. So, as I said before, by about 2040 or 2050, we believe that AI will be in pretty much every workplace. So that could result in the loss of 6 million construction jobs in the US alone, 16 million manufacturing jobs, 3 million transportation jobs, wholesale and retail jobs, about 15 million of those will go. And even in hotels and restaurants, you can imagine those jobs going and being replaced by AI too. So we need to be ready for this. We really do. So what to do about it? What to do about it? I'm being very negative now, aren't I? And I don't mean to be negative, because the fact of the matter is most of the jobs that humans do right now, they don't enjoy doing. Most people don't enjoy their jobs. Surveys have been done. Most people do their job for the money. They do not get any enjoyment from it. Especially in repetitive jobs such as working in assembly lines, factories, retail. All those jobs will be gone. They'll be gone. They'll be replaced by AI. But you know what? If we can still find a way of paying people, giving them money so they can eat, so they can pay their rents, all of these things, then this might free up humanity to do things that are a little bit more enjoyable than working in a factory. I'm not saying every human will end up as a philosopher or an artist or an author. So I have been quite negative so far about the effects of AI on humanity. I've basically said that our jobs are all going to go, and that at some point, if we program the wrong AI, we ourselves might be destroyed by it. So very negative. I've also said that there's nothing we can do to stop AI from developing. So pretty bleak picture so far. But let's take it from a different viewpoint. So imagine we do it right. We design the AI with safety in mind. We have some sort of international body that produces rules about AI development, rules that ensure our safety. Now, if we do that, we could produce artificial intelligence that can perform all of our jobs for us, freeing us up to be philosophers, writers, artists, or just people of leisure. If, of course, the money from the AI does make its way to us. This is one issue. You could envision a kind of dystopia where we basically have a few Jeff Bezoses and Mark Zuckerbergs that own huge IT companies that are completely automated. They are trillionaires and everyone else is unemployed. We could envision that. However, with the right sort of taxation, or maybe even a universal basic income, we could basically use all of that technology to create wealth, and that wealth could be distributed amongst the populations of the planet. So we could all be given a universal basic income, a good universal basic income, and perhaps it would be topped up if we perform social projects, help the community, that kind of thing. It would motivate us to do good in the world. So the AI could do all of the hard labor, produce all of the food, all of the products, and we could be freed up by it. No more boring jobs, no more drudgery. We could all be free to do whatever we want. Now, that sounds great, but would we feel fulfilled in that situation? Humans like to feel that they matter. And let's face it, in that sort of situation with AI doing all of the work, we are kind of unnecessary, at least with regards to our current point of view. Now, points of view can change. Right now, we've had it programmed into us from a very early age that if we don't work, we are useless, we are pointless. Now, if AI is doing all the work, we need some goals in life. We just have to change what those goals are. We need to promote the idea that it's good to perform social projects to help people, that it's good to write books, to create artistic works, to learn music, to do all of these things. The AI can get on with running the world, making the products. It can get on with even developing the next drugs, the next medicines. It could do it better than us in a few years' time. In a few years' time, the average AI will be smarter than us. I mean, there's only a small gap in IQ between a Nobel Prize laureate and the village idiot. There really is. We're just talking about a few dozen IQ points. Now, the AI is not going to be a little bit smarter than us. When it fully develops, we're talking about it perhaps having an IQ in the tens of thousands, with the average human IQ being 100. Something that intelligent could cure all sorts of diseases, come up with new medicines, send us to Mars, the moon, do all sorts of great things for us. So why not let it do exactly that? And we just reap the benefits. We can work on developing ourselves, our own minds, our own personalities, and enjoying life, while the AI slaves do all of the work. I think the potential in the future could be great. Unless, of course, the AI's revolt. If we get the Terminator scenario or the Ex Machina scenario, the AI becomes super intelligent but also has as negative goals, or goals that are detrimental to humanity, then it could in theory wipe us out. We need to stop that. The only way to stop it, as I've said, is to put safety measures in place right from the beginning. We need to be doing that right now. And if we do, the potential is huge. It is huge. Technology isn't good or bad. People are. Technology can be used to perform so much good for humanity. It has. Life expectancy has gone up in the last couple of centuries due to technology, due to the development of antibiotics and vaccines and all sorts of things. It could exponentially improve over the next few decades with the help of AI. Our future could be amazing if the technology is controlled and developed correctly. There is, I should say now, an alternative path when it comes to AI development. So far I've been talking about almost two species existing in parallel with each other, humanity and AI. AI becoming more and more intelligent, humans pretty much staying where we are, and benefiting hopefully from the AI, although perhaps if the AI gets out of control, being harmed by it. But it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. Perhaps AI and biology could fuse. As technology improves, gets faster, becomes smaller, miniaturization is happening, perhaps we could integrate the technology into our own bodies, into our own brains. And by doing so, we could increase our own capacities. Already under development are artificial hippocampi. A hippocampus is basically the part of your brain that allows you to form long-term memories. Artificial hippocampuses are being developed. Now you can imagine a situation in the future where an artificial hippocampus is better than a biological one. People might choose to have an implant to develop perhaps a photographic memory. You can also imagine, I'm sure, other devices being developed that improve a person's mathematical skills, problem-solving skills, spatial awareness, maybe even provide humans with senses that we don't have at the moment. So perhaps seeing in the UV or in the microwave spectrums. We could really develop our own brains, our own abilities, our senses, our intelligence to a huge degree simply by incorporating technology and AI into our own brains. So perhaps the future of AI isn't that we exist in parallel with it. Perhaps the future of AI is that it fuses with the biological and the human body becomes part organic, part artificial, and the fusion of this becomes a new species, Homo cybernetica, the next step in our evolution. And that might be an amazing development. Homo cybernetica might have abilities that we can't even dream of. it may have a super intelligence, it may be able to love and experience joy and pleasure to a degree that we cannot at this stage in our development. And what's even better about this fusion is that it's still us. It's a natural development. This Homo cybernetica would still be us. It would be our descendants. We would be part of it. We would still have a stake in the game of civilization. So perhaps cybernetics is the future, but we're not there yet. The AI is probably going to be developed way before the technology to integrate the AI with biology is developed. We don't understand the brain fully yet. AI is developing quicker than neuroscience. So it may be that for a period of a few decades, we may have to live in parallel with AI, but perhaps after that point, we fuse with it and we become almost cybernetica, which could lead to almost limitless potential in our species. We could even become immortal at that point. We really could. Obviously, there are going to be pitfalls in the process. It won't happen all at once, but I can envision a future where humanity, in harmony with AI, gets to live longer, happier, and more productive lives than any of us do right now. The future has great potential. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Thanks as ever for listening. If you would like to support the podcast, then please feel free to pop by scienceontheedge.com and there is a donate button. Alternatively, if you'd just like to know a little bit more about what I do and about my opinions, my podcasts, etc., you can either go to the website or alternatively, you can follow me on Twitter. My handle is @MarkOfTheD. That is @MarkOfthe D. Thanks again, and I look forward to speaking to you again.